3 Rose Bowl championship season, his first full season in charge. You've been seeing you around town. How's that Rose Bowl celebration tour going? You got to go to a Laker game, Kings game. You're big time now.
No, I don't know about that. Our players are big time. I know that. It's been very rewarding for us as a team with a Rose Bowl victory. But like our team knows, and like we're preaching right now, as rewarding as that is, it's in the past. And as a team, we're not satisfied. We're here to win championships and win Pac-12 championships and national championships. And just like you said, it's time to turn that page. Spring ball is here, and this is a new team, a different team. And there's a lot of objectives that we've got to get accomplished in these next 5 weeks.
Coach, you always have a plan going into spring in terms of what you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
Last year, of course, it was just getting these guys used to your system, your style of play, and, of course, we saw that sort of materialize in front of our eyes. What's the theme this year for this year's team that you want to get the message across that these guys have to get as a unit?
We actually, JJ, just by chance, we just opened up our spring installation meetings, and I opened up with a team meeting, and basically the message of this year, this is a different team. And I told the guys that I'm going to mention some names to you. Stevie Tuicolavato, Mike Hutchings, Darius Rogers, Justin Davis, Adoree Jackson, as well as others. What did those names mean to you? And all of them said, leadership, coach. I said, exactly. Not only were they talented players, but they were leaders of our team. They brought our team chemistry together and really led our team in the last 9 games. It's our first goal is to develop the leadership of the new guys that are coming up that have been good players for us as younger people, but now step into a leadership role. Our next phase is the development of our young people. When you look at it, you're looking at some young wideouts that are going to have to play for us. We got to fill 3 new offensive line positions. We got to fill basically the middle of our defense with a nose tackle, a Mike backer, and a free safety. So we got to develop our young players, and that comes from not only our coaching staff, but some of the veterans that have played prior. And then I talked to them about we really have to continue to learn how to win, not to beat ourselves. What we learned in those last 9 victories and what we learned at the beginning of the season will hopefully help us to start fast, not be a finish strong team, but be a consistent team game after game after game after game.
Well, one of those guys who will certainly step up into a leadership position is, of course, your quarterback, Sam Darnold. I'm sure that there are things that he can fine-tune off the field or on the field. How has he been handling the off-the-field stuff? And now, obviously, all eyes are going to be on him, not just locally, but nationally.
Yeah, you know what I really appreciate about Sam is his ability to just focus on the day and the moment of just winning the day. And trying to better himself in this moment, which is spring training, and taking each practice, basically building a big stack of little wins. And if you do that, if you just worry about this moment and getting better in this moment and developing as a player, the future will take care of itself. You'll look up and you'll win championships, and you'll move on, to the next level one day. But the truly great players focus on the moment, and that's what I appreciate about him. Ever since he got the starting nod, he's just worried about this day, this moment, this practice, this game, and then you look up and he's done a lot of successful things.
You're exactly right. Sam has tremendous amount of points for being a young player, and now even though he's only a redshirt sophomore, he's still a young player. Mm-hmm. But because he has all this experience, because now the full offense has been put in and all those types of things for him, how much more can you do with him, and how much more flexibility does it give you to give control to the quarterback, where last year you had to manage him sometimes, especially at the beginning?
Well, now this is an exciting time for us because you look at the consistency of the staff. You didn't lose any coordinators. You basically kept 9 out of the 10 coaches on staff and on a very successful team. And usually when that happens, coaches start going everywhere, but you were able to keep the nucleus. And what ends up happening, you keep your system. Now we're not having to install a system that he has to learn or a defense has to learn. So the key to this spring, like we talked about in our team meeting, is the fundamentals and the techniques of the assignments. They had to learn the assignments last year. Now they're going to really be able to do a great attention to detail in their fundamentals and technique.
Well, you mentioned a couple names, too, that you will lose, and that's Juju Smith-Schuster and Darius Rogers. Those guys combined for 126 catches last year. That's a lot of production, certainly. Now, you have guys you thought in advance. You thought it through. Everyone said, why are you taking so many wide receivers? And a lot of them didn't play last year. Well, you're taking them so that they're ready to play right now. So how do you fill that void with that large crop that you brought in 2 years ago?
Yeah, not only is it the ones, but it's the backups. Remember, DeQuan Hampton made 2 really big plays in the UCLA game, and an Isaac Whitney, the depth. So the ones and the twos we lost on the outside, and that's why we did take 5 last year and 2 more big kids this year. We saw it coming, that this was coming, and we just didn't want to have to rely on true freshmen or junior college players. We wanted to bring in that big group, develop them over a year, give them the opportunity to redshirt, develop, and then be ready for this moment. And we got a lot of work to do. They're not finished products yet, but you've got 30 days of spring ball, and you end up getting 29 extra practices during spring during fall camp. So hopefully that will fine-tune some ability and get them ready for the season.
As you mentioned, huge void at receiver, a lot of work to be done there, but my focus is on the offensive line. You had 3, you talked about it earlier, you have 3 huge losses up front. Toa's out for the spring, so you won't get him back. What is this spring going to be like, or how huge is this spring going to be like? Guys like Chris Brown, Clayton Johnson, Hemsley, guys like that fans haven't heard of, but they've been practicing and waiting.
There's that group that's been developing, that's been sitting back. You had such a special, unique gift when you had a Toa and a Vianney and a Damian all playing as true freshmen, and then 2 bookends playing as sophomores, and they grew up. Well, now here's that next bunch. Here's that bunch that's been waiting, been sitting right in the wings, and now it's their opportunity. You have some leadership with a Nico and with a Toa, and Achuma has played a lot, but we're going to have to establish it's going to be a very competitive spring on that offensive line to find the best 5.
Yeah, and if Toa maybe is not a major part of it this spring, how do you view him? Because obviously Nico was so good at center. Does that maybe give you the flexibility for Toa to be that sort of jack of all trades, since he has you played at every spot pretty much in his career?
Yeah, you know what's been great about both guys, and met with them both individually as well as all of our players currently on campus. We met individually to their development plan and what they need to do in the spring. And one of the great things about both kids, both Nico and Toa, is their ability to play multiple positions. We kind of learned that with Max Turek when he was here, and the value of being able to not only be a center, but also both kids have played right tackle before. Both of them have been tackle. Toa's been a guard before also. So that availability to not only be able to play with the ball in your hands, but to play other positions is extremely valuable, not only at this level, but the next also.
All right, we've still got one more segment with Coach. Hey, reminders, season tickets are on sale. This is a season that everyone is looking forward to. Coach setting high expectations. USCTrojans.com/tickets. That is your ticket marketplace for USC tickets all season long. We're going to talk a little bit of defense when we come back. One more segment with Coach Helton on Trojans Live from the Lab. Back on Trojans Live, Jordan Moore, John Jackson, and the head coach of USC football, Clay Helton, officially heading into his 2nd season, looking for a pretty good encore as spring football starts tomorrow. Can you believe it? It's already time. It'll be 15 practices over the next 6 weeks. They'll take 1 week off for spring break, and all those practices, by the way, are open to the public. So this is a great opportunity for the fans to come out. Obviously, the big spring game at the end on April 15 at the Coliseum, but you can come out to Howard Jones Field, watch this team play and perform, and you get to know these guys. And a guy.
By the way, 15 practices in 6 weeks. It used to be 15 practices in 3 weeks back in the day.
Just no break for you.
No
Got
breaks.
it. Okay.
I just want to make
these guys.
make sure I get that in.
What's the rush?
They're soft.
They have
They're
all
soft
spring.
these
They
days.
have all spring to do it. But one of the guys that I'm looking forward to seeing back, and he was, if I recall correctly, it was last spring, the bad break of last spring, and that was Kenny Bigelow. That was he was having a great spring. He's such an impressive guy physically, and again, you talk about people you need to replace. Stevie Tuikolovatu where's Kenny in terms of his rehab, and how can he maybe be that guy that becomes your anchor up front like Stevie was?
Yeah, definitely. When you look at it, I mean, he was going to be that guy going into the fall, and then all of a sudden we have the bad break there, and really Lord was watching after us with Stevie coming on board, but now you're gaining that person back. He'll be limited in spring. There'll be some individual drills that he's done, probably keep him out of teamwork to finish the health of that knee, and then hopefully be ready for the fall. But, like I said earlier, you look at the middle of that defense, and that's where we have to establish a quality nose tackle, a Mike backer with communication skills and the ability to be the quarterback of the defense like Mike was in Clancy's defense last year, and then a free safety, Lewiston Leon, and that's probably the least position because you got Chris back there. You end up having Marvell, and then you got some young kids coming in. So, but that center of that defense is where it's got to be a huge focus for us this spring.
Before I move over to defense, I have to talk about the one coaching move that you made with Coach Dylan McCullough. He comes over from Indiana. Had some success, but Indiana's sort of off the radar. A lot of people don't recognize that. How did you find him, and why do you think he fits with this staff?
Yeah, you look at just him as a developer of talent, and he's one of those guys that, you get the opportunity to come out to USC. I remember my opportunity,
right.
Coming from Memphis to here. And there's so many great coaches around the country. And really, I wanted to have the opportunity to develop some young talent and went out and tried to find the guy that is doing one of the better jobs in the country. Not only was Indiana extremely successful as a team, but you look at the running back position and what they accomplished in the Big Ten, plus him personally developing the running backs that he had there, not only recruiting them, but then bringing them in and developing, and then you look up and he's got 3 kids in the NFL being ultra successful.
Yeah.
So just watching him early, really, really fortunate to have Dylan here.
Yeah, you look at his roster of guys that he put in the NFL, and then you say Indiana. No offense to Indiana, but not exactly the tailback historically, but he really did a fantastic job. And we might as well stay right there. Vi Malapai just came up to say hello, and there's a guy where it's not that you necessarily have so much to replace because you have Ronald back, but you lose Justin, so sort of everybody slides up. So do you look at guys like Vi as somebody that could really open some eyes this spring?
Well, we were so excited about Vi when he was coming in, and you remember he broke his collarbone.
Yeah, he was running well.
Oh, my goodness. And you're talking about a bigger kid. You're talking about a 215, 220-pound man in between tackles that really can provide us what Justin, did. Justin was great in between the tackles. Plus, I tell you what Vi does, great in pass protection. Absolutely great out of the backfield with his hands, and he's an extremely fast person. He's a high 4'4", low 4'5" guy at 215, 220 pounds. So really excited about getting him back, having the opportunity to redshirt him, get healthy. It got to practice later in the season, and to have him have the opportunity to compete this spring, really exciting.
You talked about the loss of Stevie Tuikolovatu. Now Kenechi Udeze has another guy that's sort of been, he's been a great name for the Trojans last year, but he really started to come on and catch on to the coaching of Kenechi, and that's Rasheem Green.
Oh.
Where is his goals for this year? This year it's, like Stevie T sort of took over. It's his defensive line to take over. What should we expect?
Well, you're looking at that front, and we keep 3 of the 4 that were there. You have the bookends in Porter and Chenna with some good depth behind them. And then you look at what Rasheem Green did at the 3 technique position, and just a nightmare he was on guards in this league. He's a guy that potentially could be a 10-sack plus guy in a passing league, and his pass rush skills and the ability to cause havoc back there is really, really important for us. So I was really proud of his development. He even took it to the next step in strength and conditioning this offseason, this winter, and really expecting some big things. He's going into his junior year. My challenge to him was don't get comfortable. Go! You're one of the best pass rushers now on your team. Go be the best pass rusher in the league.
Yep.
And so his challenge is to not get comfortable and push himself to an elite level.
And staying in that front 7, and in this class where we talked about Vi and Michael Pittman, you didn't play nearly as many freshmen. You didn't have to lean on them nearly as much as the last few years. And so you have guys like Connor Murphy and Olawale Batiku. Coach, these guys really look like something. You have to see the production on the field, but how can they get out there? Because you're starting to have that kind of quality depth that we see from championship teams where hey, Port Augustine, Uchenna, Nwosu, we already know are great.
Well, our challenge to those younger kids right now is their time is coming, and as we know, the best player plays. I mean, we're a competition bunch, but the one thing that we looked back on last season is we're hoping that our young players come on where a Chinna and a Porter don't have to play an 80-play game plus special teams, that we can be a fresher defensive unit towards the end of games by playing some of the younger players that now are ready. You know, they had that redshirt year, or in Connor's and Wale's situation, got valuable experience playing last year and developing behind. So now it's their time to be contributors to our defense.
You know, I don't want to leave the special teams out of it. You know, Coach Baxter would be offended.
No, he'll get after me.
But, you know, you lose Bormeister due to student conduct issues, and now you have Michael Brown that's going to, at least right now, step in and looks to be the man to take over that job. Give us a little background on what you expect from him and what people or fans have not seen.
Yeah, you know, again, there was that investment in special teams and a valuable one. You know, that's one of the things that Coach Baxter has taught me in my time here is always invest in special teams. You went out again at Crest Tilby as a punter. You went out and had a Zach Smith, who you don't even know his name because he was perfect at snapping for 4 years. And so we replaced Zach with a Damon Johnson coming in board. Well, here's Mike Brown, you know, and we basically wanted to develop a kicker for a year or two to be able to get ready. So we signed Mike last year to a Blue Shirt advanced scholarship opportunity, and you know, developed him for a year. A very strong-legged kid that's finding his consistency and his technique and fundamentals. Thank God Coach Baxter is here because he has all the leg talent in the world.
That's right.
Sometimes I don't know where it's going, but he really fine-tuned him and glued him in. I thought going into the Rose Bowl, he was basically had his best 3 weeks while I was here. So now we got to continue that through the spring.
Yeah, last quick one from me. The backup quarterback battle, is it Matt Fink against Jack Sears? Where does Jalen Green obviously was an emergency guy with the Rose Bowl. Does he stay at quarterback or does he go back to receiver?
No, Jalen will be with the receiver with us, and we're going to need his experience and his veteran leadership at the position. And then, you know, you have 3 quarterbacks right now in Sam, in Matt, and in Jack that will all be preparing to get better each and every game. And my challenge to them is prepare like a starter each and every game.
2-part question, and it'll be real quick. But Adoree, after, you know, obviously goes to the combine, I would like to hear your thoughts on his combine performance. But also, you have to replace him. And the candidates for that job, Ajene has been around, Locke has been around, Langley, Jack, Pi Young. You know, you have several guys to fill that spot. Yeah. Who looks like the leading candidate on the outside, and then also how do you approach the inside? Because Lockett and Jenny were there last year, but now do they make the transition outside?
Yeah, I've been doing it this is my 22nd season. There's not too many Adoree Jacksons out there.
Yeah, that's true. They don't grow on trees.
Yeah,
maybe you can play with 12.
But the thing that we have done here that I think has been really nice is you look at our two-way players. I think over our years here, there's been great signees, but they play both ways. Jack comes to mind. Ajene comes to mind. Ajene's played both sides of the ball. You know, here comes a Pi Young that can help on both sides of the ball. And then you got Greg Johnson, who I thought was one of the better two-way players in the city, and as a returner also. So we've got candidates that are there. It's big shoes to fill, I'll be honest with you. But we're not asking anybody to be Adoree. Just be your best in those positions. And thank goodness that we've taken those type of kids, because not only can they help us offensively, but they have the ball skills to be able to get the ball back defensively as far as interceptions go. So it's a trend that we love and we'll continue doing.
All right, we thank you. We say thank you to Coach. Give me 3 times. I always get it the 3rd time. Spring football again starts tomorrow. It'll be right on campus and open to the public, and the 15 practices, and it all ends, of course, in the spring game, April 15 at the Coliseum. So you can see these Trojans all spring long. We're going to talk to one of the newer faces next. Michael Pittman Jr. is next on Trojans Live.